Hello students, I am Raghavendra Kumar Singh, faculty of US Academy and Institute. Today we will discuss class 6th history's third chapter in the earliest cities. In this chapter we will discuss about Harappan civilization. Now the story of Harappa. Harappa was one of the oldest cities in the subcontinent, which archaeologists found 80 years ago. This was the first city to be discovered. All other cities were building similar to Harappa were described as Harappan. Harappa is modern day in Pakistan. This site was accidentally discovered when the East India Company was doing the construction of railway lines in 1856. Initially, the construction workers thought the ruins to be of some ordinary old cities. The bricks from the sites were used for the construction. It was about 80 years ago that archaeologists could realize that it was an ancient city. Now, what was special about these cities? Mohanjodaro, Kalibangan, Lothal, and Dholavira are some important sites of the Indus Valley civilization. About 150 sites of these civilizations have been discovered till date. Most of the sites this civilization are in modern day Pakistan. Some of the sites are in India, for example Kalibangan, northern Rajasthan, Banawali, Haryana, Dholavira, Gujarat, and Lothal in Gujarat. After excavation from different sites, it has become clear that this civilization was spread over major parts of the western India and Pakistan and some other parts of the Afghanistan. These cities were divided into two or more parts. Citadel, the part to be the west, which was smaller but higher, was called the citadel. Lower town, the part to the east was larger but lower, was called the lower town. The walls of baked bricks were built around each part. The bricks were so well baked that they have lasted for thousands of years. The bricks were laid in an interlocking pattern, and that made the walls strong. In some cities, special buildings were constructed on the citadel. For example, in Mohanjodaro, a very special tank, which archaeologists call the Great Bath, was built in this area. Some cities like Mohanjodaro, Harappa, and Lothal has elaborated storehouses. Town planning. Some special features of these cities. Town planning. These cities show immaculated town plannings. The city of Harappa was divided in two parts, western and eastern. A huge tank has been found within the citadel. This has been named as Great Bath. Rich peoples lived in the upper part of the city. Workers lived in the lower part of the city. Roads and drainage. Roads are paved with bricks. The drainage system was properly planned. Drains from each houses were connected to be the drain in the streets. Planned houses. The walls of the houses were strong and thick. Some of the houses were 2-story high, which shows the well-developed architecture in those days. Granaries. In the cities of the Indus Valley civilization, a large granary has been found. Charred grains has been found in these granaries. We saw that food grains production was surplus during the period. Historians also guess that taxes were collected in the forms of grains. Grains collected as tax were stored in such large granaries. Now, the life in the city. Harappa city was a very busy place. Rulers were the peoples who planned the construction of special buildings in the city. Rulers sent peoples to distant land to get metal, precious stones, and other things that they wanted. Scribes were the peoples who knew how to write and help in preparing the seals, and perhaps write on other materials that have not survived. There were men and women craft persons who used to make all kinds of things. Many terracotta toys have been found in Harappan civilization and Harappan cities, which shows that children must be played with these. Some of the possible occupation which may have existed in these cities are craft. Clay, copper, and bronze was used for making pots, tools, weapons, and seals were made from copper and bronze. Seals were also made from clay. Some large pots have also been found. They were probably used for storing grains. Jewelries were made of gold, beads, wood, and clay. Precious stones like carnelian, jasper, crystal, etc. were used to make beads. Clay and wood was used for making toys. Ornate carving can be seen on toys, pots, and jewelries. Trade. Trade was the main occupation of peoples of Harappa. Copper came from Rajasthan and from Oman. Some of the seals from Harappa have been found in Mesopotamia, which shows that trade links existed between Harappa and Mesopotamia. A dockyard has been discovered in Lothal, in Gujarat, which shows that trade through sea route existed at that time. Farming. Remains of charred grains have been found, which shows that wheat, barley, pulses, pea, rice, sesame, linseed, and mustard was grown in the villages of Harappa civilization. A toy model of plough has been found from the ruins, which shows that plough was used for tilling the land. Bones of many domesticated animals have been found from the excavation sites, which shows that peoples of Harappa domesticated cattle, sheep, goat, buffalo, and pig. Most of the objects that were made and found in Harappa cities were of stone, silver, metal, including copper, bronze, gold, and silver. Copper and bronze were used to make tools, weapons, ornaments, and vessels. Gold and silver were used to make ornaments and vessels. The Harappan made seals of out stones, which were rectangular in shape and have an animal carved on them. The Harappan also made pots with beautiful black design. Actual pieces of clothes were found attached to the lid of a silver vase and some copper objects at Mohanjodaro. Archaeologists have also found a spindle wheel made of terracotta and faience, which were used to spin thread. Many of the things that were produced at Harappan were probably the work of a specialist. Now, in search of raw materials. Raw materials are substances that are either found naturally or produced by farmers or herders. Raw materials are processed to produce finished good. The raw material that the Harappan used were available locally, whereas many items such as copper, tin, gold, silver, and precious stones were brought from distant places. The Harappan probably got copper from present-day Rajasthan and from Oman in West Asia. Tin, which was mixed with copper to produce bronze, had been brought from present-day Afghanistan, and iron, gold, had been brought from the present-day Karnataka, and precious stones from present-day Gujarat, Iran, and Afghanistan. Food for the peoples of the cities. Peoples living in the countryside grew crops and reared animals. The Harappan grew wheat, barley, pulses, peas, rice, sesame, linseed, and mustard. The plough was used to dig the earth for turning the soil and planting seeds. Water was stored and supplied to the field. When the plants were growing, Harappan reared cattle, sheep, goat, and buffalo. In the dry summer month, large herds of animals were probably taken to greater distance in search of grass and water. Peoples also collected fruits like bear, caught fish, and hunted wild animals like the antelope. Now, about the closer look, Harappan town in Gujarat. The city of Dholavira was located in Kadir Belt in the Rann of Kutch. This city has fresh water and fertile soil. Dholavira was divided into 3 parts, and each part was surrounded with massive stone walls with entrance through gateways. These were also a large open area in the settlement where people's ceremonies were held. Large letters of the Harappan script were carved out of white stone and inlaid in wood. Now, the city of Lothal. The city of Lothal stood beside a tributary of the Sabarmati in Gujarat, close to the Gulf of Khambat. The raw material, such as semi-precious stones, were easily available in the city. There were also a storehouse in the city, workshop for making beads, pieces of stones, half-made beads, tools for bead making, and finished beads have all been found here. Now, the mystery of the end. Around 3,900 years ago, we find the beginning of the major changes. People stopped living in many of the cities. Writing, seals, and weights were no longer used. Raw materials brought from long distance became rare. In Mohanjodaro, we find that garbage piled up on the streets. The drainage system broke down, and new, less impressive houses were built even over the streets. There is a possibility that the rivers dried up. It forced peoples to move to some other places. There were too many bricks, kilns, and furnaces. It may have damaged the environment. This would have led to deforestation. Lack of green cover may have forced people to move to some other places. Overgrazing by cattle and sheep may also have resulted in loss of forest. This would have led to desertification, that is, formation of desert. There is also a possibility of large scale epidemic or natural calamity. It could have wiped off a major portion of the population. Why did all this happen? We are not sure. Some scholars suggest that the rivers dried up, others suggest that there were deforestation in some areas, there were flood, but none of these reasons can explain the end of all the cities. It appears as if the rules lost control. Sites in Sindh and West Punjab, present day in Pakistan, were abandoned, while many peoples moved into newer, smaller settlements to the east and the south.